Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today has over 17 years of experience in real estate and invests for Cashflow while helping others do the same. Tyler Sheff is the founder of Cashflowguys.com and is the host of the Cashflow Guys podcast. Tyler, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no, thanks for taking the time. I'm really looking forward to our chat. So to kick things off, tell us about your real estate goals right now.
Well, right now, my goal is getting on the road. And my wife and I have decided to retire early. We recently just bought an RV, a big Class A thing, and we're going to travel around the country. And I'm going to do deals in different markets. I'm going to try something a little different. I usually stick with one market, but I hear a lot of this. There's no deals in my market. And I kind of want to go out there and show them that there is. So that's going to be our adventure for like the next year. We're backing off of the multifamily a little bit, letting the ridiculousness, let them fight over it. And then we'll go in the back door and do our thing.
Where did that idea even come from?
I get a lot of feedback from the folks that listen to my podcast, and I do that 30-minute consultation thing. And everybody says, there's no deals in my market, Tyler. Where are you? And I'm thinking, I hear cities all over the country. I never hear like I'm in New York City or anything like that. I hear like I'm in Kansas or I'm in, Memphis, and you can't find any opportunities. I'm like, well, what? Are you awake? Hello, is this on? There's opportunity everywhere. You just got to get out there and do it, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to go out and do that and have some fun.
Oh, that's great. You'll do the Rockstar tour, pick up some real estate. That sounds great.
There you go.
And you've been involved in quite a different number of other industries since you got your license in 2000. What prompted you to get back into real estate after you took that hiatus?
One word: tax.
Tax.
Yeah. So I was a W-2 employee. I've been self-employed most of my life, but I did take a break after the housing crash, and not because of the housing crash necessarily, but realistically, the trucking business I had at the time was suffering. Fuel prices went through the ceiling during the last downturn. And I went to work for the government, which was cool. I mean, that was great. It was a dream job. I got to sail around the world. But I made a lot of money, and I made a lot of money on a W-2 paycheck. And I found out that I was giving a god-awful amount of my money back to the government. I'm working for the government. They pay me, and they put it in one pocket and take it out the other. It was like I had this track going around my waist. It's like in one pocket, out the other, right?
Yeah.
So when I really deep dove to figure out how can I legally reduce my tax obligation, because I don't want to play games with the IRS. I made that mistake when I was younger. Apparently my charm doesn't satisfy them at all. They could care less. They pay us or go to jail. Gee, thanks. Yeah. So everything came back to real estate. It's like, dude, just change how you earn your income, right? Buy property and just hang on to it, and you can enjoy all the tax benefits.
Yeah. And what did that real estate look like at the start, and how has your investing business changed as you've grown your portfolio?
So for us, my wife and I started as house flippers, and I flipped a ton of houses back in the day. This is pre-crash, pre-2008, whatever. Made a lot of money, and that's kind of where the tax situation came in. I flipped a whole bunch of houses one year. I did my own taxes. Don't ever do that, folks. And I didn't claim all of the properties. Well, the IRS found out, and I got a huge bill and a slap on the wrist and the whole 9 yards. So for us, we shifted to, when we made that shift, we looked at going into single family rental properties, but I'm not getting any younger, and it would be very challenging, almost impossible in my opinion, to scale to the point that I could actually replace my income with single family rentals. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to go out and buy 100 houses. There's no way. I could buy a 100-unit building at the blink of an eye, but 100 houses is a lot of work. Yeah. So we got in. I learned the multifamily thing, and we were kind of bouncing back and forth. Do we do mobile home parks or do we do multifamily? Multifamily was just appeared easier. It made a lot more sense, and I'll be honest with you, people were on board with it. Nobody really turned their nose up at multifamily, but mobile home parks, there's that stigma. You're like, geez, I don't want to own part of a trailer park. Or the banks are like, well, we don't invest in those mobile home parks here. I'm thinking, come on, man, really?
Yeah.
So it just made the most sense. It was direct to the point. We could go in and start taking down these smaller buildings and build our portfolio. And that's what we've done.
Yeah. And what was it like moving from doing those flips to purchasing those multifamily buildings? Like, did you have to change how you thought about real estate to be able to move up?
Well, I did. I had number one is the first property that we actually still own. We over improved it a little bit, but when I got a story I can tell you later about that. But it worked out to our advantage. But I tend to I have that flipper mindset, right? So I'm the guy that has to stop myself from putting granite countertops in a Class C apartment building because I'll do it. And my wife's no better. She's even worse than I am when it comes to that. So it was very challenging to learn how to do a rent rehab, but still provide the value that the tenants want and need so that you can get the rent. That and I was the guy, when we flipped houses, we did a lot of the stuff ourselves. Yes, we had teams doing the construction stuff, but it was a big change working with teams, right? Having acquisition people out in the field and having other people help us raise capital and bringing all these different elements into the mix it was a period of adjustment. It was a challenge, but we got through it. But it was definitely a challenge going in.
Yeah. And you mentioned acquisition teams in the field. How did you grow your operation to allow you to scale? Because lots of the people watching this, they might own a couple properties and they're always thinking about how do I get bigger? What was scaling for you like?
For me, it was getting laser focused on what's the one thing. And when that book came out, I interviewed the author on my podcast a while back, a couple of years ago. Great guy. Getting that one thing, right? I've got to get leads. My thing is I'm a marketer, and that's what a lot of real estate investors forget. They think, well, I'm just going to wait for something to come up on LoopNet and everything will be great. Or I'll go to my local real estate meeting, or I'll just buy into syndications for the rest of my life. That's all fine and dandy, but it's challenging to scale that way. You have to start learning how to generate leads or be willing to hire somebody to do it for you.
Yeah.
I found that it's a little easier for me to generate leads with me more involved because people are buying me, they're buying the brand and my wife, especially when it comes to raising capital. So it was very hard to offset to sublet that out. So for us, we kind of changed hats, got really laser focused and dialed in on our marketing message and getting the word out and just telling people what we need. Here's the thing: we need opportunity. We buy small multifamily buildings. We'll look at anything basically from 4 units up to 50. We invest in 2 markets right now, and we also look at land opportunities. You got some unwanted land. We'll look at that from a flip scenario.
Yeah.
But most investors don't do a good job of that. You ask them what are they looking for, and they say, "Well, I'm looking for a great deal in Chicago." Well, where in Chicago? Well, anywhere in Chicago. That's a good deal. What's a good deal? I don't know. What is a good deal? And then we start having this conversation. It's like, you never get anywhere. So we got really refined on our message. It's like, this is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because even when you're having those broker conversations, it doesn't help if you tell a broker, "Hey, I'm looking for a great deal in Kansas." You need to say, I'm looking for a Class B deal with some value upside. And list your criteria, and that's going to make everybody's life a lot easier.
It is.
Yeah.
And I get laser specific, and I also use that honestly as a tool to screen who I'm dealing with. In other words, I don't generally work with brokers on a grand scale. I know that's contrary to what everybody does in the market, but I don't because I like to be direct to the seller. That said, when I do communicate with a broker, I'm hyper specific because I'm testing to see what kind of response they get. If they do the old, psh, well, you're not going to find that monster in this game, then I know that's probably not the broker I'm going to even waste my time looking at their deals.
Yeah.
So it serves 2 missions.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that direct to seller approach, because I know lots of people like this, right now, like you said, many people get their deals sourced from brokers. What's working for you in finding those sellers willing to work with you?
What I found is that for me, working with brokers, I usually get along really well with brokers because I am one, to be honest with you. That helps. So I speak the same language as them. I understand where they're coming from. I don't waste their time. They don't view me as somebody that wastes their time. The problem I've always had is that it's challenging for a broker to be able to convey my message the same way that I would convey my message. So what we've done is worked more on building rapport with those brokers so that we, as a team, the broker and I, can go sit down and talk to that seller. I don't buy properties because they're for sale, first of all. Matter of fact, I really don't buy what's for sale. And when I say off market, and that's the big joke, is people say, well, this is an off market, whatever. It's not off market because you're advertising it. That means it's for sale. That means it may not be in the MLS, but it's on market. I hate to tell you, because It's available to anybody. So what I will do though is I will build that rapport with brokers. So in the event they have something that's truly not on the market, the seller's thinking about selling, they know that number one, if they work with me, in other words, help me get in with the customer, with the client, the seller, you're going to get all of your commission, and you're not going to have to do a damn thing. Bottom line, you can just sit on your butt and do nothing and get paid. I just need the in. The other angle of that is we spend a lot of time focusing on the problems in our communities where we invest. In the Tampa Bay area, we've got people that go to eviction court and sit there. We look at data and records from eviction courts. Do we see trends? Do we see a property management company that continually has evictions? That tells us we have a management issue. So now the next question is, where do they manage? Well, we look on their website. They usually have vacancies up there. Maybe we look on Zillow or any one of those rental sites, and you start seeing trends, right? You look at trends. That tells us that maybe we should reach out to that seller and say, hey, just letting you know, if you have trouble, we are always here at any future period. We will consider buying your property, and we're here to help. We can come in with cash. We can do all kinds of different things, but we're here to solve problems for you. So if you ever need advice or questions, whatever, which is part of how our education arm fits in, is we actually educate landlords. And then when they learn the right way to do things, you'd be surprised how many of them go, dude, can you just buy my building? I'm like, sure, not a problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to do all that work. Oh, what a shock.
Yeah. And basically you've created that lead funnel. Like you said, lots of investors, they don't realize that marketing is the most important thing that your business needs. And I think that goes to maybe that goes to your real estate broker background, where you learn from day one, you need a lead funnel before you can even start having a client funnel.
Exactly. Absolutely correct. And a lot of folks just skip over that. Like, kind of like I said about the whole marketing thing.
Yeah.
People, they don't think they need to be a marketer. It's like, oh yes, you do.
Yeah. And for you running your business right now, do you have any routines or rituals that you follow, maybe daily or weekly, that helps keep you focused?
I can tell you that 3 days a week, my wife and I actually go out and walk, not ride bikes, not drive neighborhoods. We walk. We go to areas where there are apartments in our market, where we want to serve folks, and we get out there and walk. And what you will find, and we don't do it to look for a for sale sign or anything like that. We don't even go to look at a broken down building. We go to observe the changes, to see what's different. Oh, look, that they're putting on roofs, or this lot has got a sign up that we've never seen before. Maybe there's a code enforcement hearing coming up. We look for, the real estate guys say clues in the news, right? I love that term, clues in the news. We always look for clues around us that things may be happening.
Yeah. And for you managing your business now, because you mentioned acquisition teams in the field, how do you, as the guy running it all, how do you make sense of all the different funnels you have going on at any one time?
Well, for one, I hired a marketing manager who's better at it than I am. I did that.
Yeah.
I tried doing it myself for a while. I help as far as strategy goes. I bought a book written by, I believe it was Gino Wickman. And there's 2 books he put out. One of them was called Traction, and the second one was called Rocket Fuel, which was the follow-up. I'm not sure if you read them, but in Traction, he talks about, in any business, you need to have an implementer, but you also need to have a visionary. And those roles are rarely the same person. And I think if you read that book and you start to compartmentalize your business, like, okay, how many people are in it? There's my wife and I. What are our strengths? What do we enjoy doing? What are we good at? I'm the guy. I'm great being in front of a microphone. I have no problem with that. I don't mind being in front of camera. I love to write. That's cool. I love to negotiate. I like to be around people, but I'm not the kind of guy you'd give a spreadsheet to and, want to figure out a bunch of calculations. I know how to make a property profitable, but I'm not going to go through some master's thesis on how to do that. It's like, well, here's how we're going to do it. Bing, bam, boom, done.
Yeah. So
my wife handles a lot of the details in the back office and the back end of that stuff, because that's what that's what she's good at. That's what she likes doing.
Yeah. And as you started bringing on, you mentioned your marketing manager, how did your business was there a snowball effect at that point?
I don't follow.
Oh, so you outsourced a marketing manager, brought him or her on to do all the stuff that you weren't as good at doing. Was there a big impact on your business in terms of did your growth grow 2 times because you now had an expert doing that?
Well, it took a while. There's that getting used to each other type of thing. We had to, she
Yeah.
kind of had to, she heads up a team of other people. She's got VAs working for her. And there was that phase where we're trying to get to know each other. We ran that about 4 to 6 months, trying to kind of get the feel for what the marketing message is. I'll be honest with you. That was one big awakening that I had from that, is that I am the weak link in the company. I am the cog in the wheel, so to speak. I'm the guy that blocks the water from flowing. And they're like, Tyler, we need content. Where's this week's podcast episode? It's Thursday. We're releasing in 12 hours. And I'm still riding around the jet ski going, oh, I've got to do something.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
What tips can you give to somebody if they're at that stage? They're saying, hey, listen, I need to bring on some team members. How can they best prepare themselves now in order to make that jump?
Well, first of all, remember that when you bring a team member on, if you're going to pay them, I don't know, say $50,000 a year, right? Or let's use easy math. $52,000 a year is $1,000 a week. Understand that that's it. It's $1,000 a week, starting with next week, not this week. So when you bring somebody on, you commit to pay them $52,000 a year. You don't have to write them a check on day one. Understand that the only way you're going to build this business is to bring people on. You cannot do this single-handedly. Trust me, I've tried. And I've counseled tons of students that have also tried, those that had a lot of money and those that didn't. And it always comes back to the same thing. You absolutely have to spread yourself out by empowering other people to help you, whether that be VAs, employees, or whatever. I'm more leaning towards the VA side myself.
Yeah. And did you choose VAs just for the flexibility and the cost savings? What was the big push over there?
Well, it was the huge cost savings, obviously, because you don't have that good to deal with. You don't have to worry about the taxes, the payroll taxes, and that's another staff member and all of that. But there's a lot of things that will change. We change, and we're ever evolving, right? Technology is a big part of our business. Our marketing message is a technology based. So we may run campaigns and do certain things and work in certain markets to test things and put leads out there. And if things don't work out, we don't have to be very committal. We can go in and saturate an area or handle a task. And then when there's nothing left, I don't have to go find work for these folks because they have other things to do that don't involve me, right?
Yeah.
Last thing I ever want to do is give my hard-earned money to somebody to sit on Facebook, and watch cat videos. Like, hey, I need this spreadsheet fixed because I don't either know how or I don't have the time. So I'll just outsource that to the VA. She or he does that one task. They're done. We go off, do our own thing. So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So let's look at all the deals that you've done. Is there one that stands out as a keystone deal that made a big impact for you?
Yeah, there's one that just started out as an absolute nightmare. I still own it today. It's kind of a cool story. I'll try to keep it short. I know time is limited, but my wife and I lived in a duplex back when I worked for the federal government. I was at sea, but we found her dream home. It was a duplex right on the ocean, right in the Gulf of Mexico. We were renting one side. The other side, the seller had difficulty renting it out. I don't know why. I believe it wasn't his thing. Long story short, we made a deal to buy it from him. And I mean, this is just the ideal short-term rental vacation place, whatever. So we go under contract. I come home from working on the ship to close. We go sit down with the attorney's office on a Saturday morning, his attorney, to close, and he serves us an eviction notice. And we lived there. We'd rented there for 2 years. I've never been late on rent, never any issues. And what he did is that once we negotiated with him, he went and got under contract with somebody else for $50,000 more. Well, I've been doing this a day or two, and I'm not going to roll over that easy. So we fought back, but at the end of the day, I really didn't want to do business with him at that point. And the one thing we didn't allow for was the increased cost of flood insurance because it was coastal, it was Gulf front. So we decided to move and look for a different place. Long story short, we stopped by this property I'm talking about now, where we bought it and moved in. Now I bought that place for $215,000, and that was in 2015. We bought that, so $215,000. Immediately, we had to put about 45 grand into it. I mean, it was your classic bigger pockets rehab story, right? It was ugly. It was literally orange, like as in pumpkin orange with brown trim. It looked like Thanksgiving gone wrong. 1970 or 1980s kitchen cabinets, all brown and yucky and whatnot. And my wife was just twitching, and she's like, "We got to live here." I'm like, "Just for a couple months until we figure stuff out. Chill out. We'll figure it out." But it's in a great neighborhood, right? So it's your classic B/A class property that It doesn't look like it right now. It looks D class right now as a David, and maybe even E if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my.
For exorcism. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or F for you know what.
Yeah.
But so we bought it. Ironically, it was it was on the MLS. Okay, it was on the MLS for 315 days when we bought it. The listing agent was the owner. So I leveraged the fact that I'm an agent to be able to talk to her. I brought a buddy of mine in who's a real estate agent as well. He threw his license in the deal so that I could earn a commission on my own purchase, which we credited back to the deal. Not only did I not have to put any money down because I'm a veteran, I used my VA mortgage. It was a fourplex. I actually got paid $1,715 to buy the property. I walked out of closing with a check, which makes a great story, but we still have an ugly building. Yeah. We fixed it all up nice and changed the front 2 units. We switched over to short-term rental because it was a VA mortgage. We had to move into 1 unit, so your typical BRR, right? But I wasn't really happy with the cash flow. My wife always punches me when I say that because we were making a killing already. You do the math on that, right? You get 3 units turning $1,000 a month, and you're in it for your debt service. I think it was, I want to say like $1,200. So it's really not a whole lot. So we're doing real well, considering we have zero investment in this thing. I mean, none, not even a penny. So we changed the use because I was just a greedy capitalist pig. I decided to go short-term rental, and we stuck our toe in back before that was cool and immediately got booked solid. With those 2 units now consistently generate around $3,000 a month each.
Nice.
That used to rent for $1,000. So we're taking in $6,000 a month gross on those 2 units. We are moving out of our apartment here actually in the next week or so into our RV. And so we're going to travel the country full time. So we want to have our fun now before we get too old to enjoy it. And which will generate another $3,000. So that's $9,000. And then we rent a long-term unit. That one, we're getting ready to raise the rent up to $1,200 on that one. So you look at that, it's like, kind of can't argue that, but it gets better. Here's the cool thing. I had a bad year when we got started with the cash flow guys. And why I had a bad year is I was trying to teach everybody how to do what I do for free, which incurred debt for me because apparently teaching people how to invest in real estate does come with an expense. That's probably why they charge for it. Yeah. So I got us back in debt. We'd escaped the rat race in 2015. And we got back into the rat race again because of trying to save the world for free, right? Trying to be a martyr, and see what that got me. So long story short, I needed a lump sum of cash, and I needed to be able to have a little bit of head start so I could get going on raising more money and doing more deals. So we were able to pull over $100,000 in equity out of that property, but it appraised. The funny part is last year we had it appraised. But basically I was talking to a friend that's an appraiser, and he went and had somebody that was a new appraiser come do an appraisal for free. That appraisal came in at $630,000. Now, clearly, I did not borrow that money because that would kill my cash flow. But just to think that there's that much equity there, $630,000 from 215, and we've locked in our debt service right now. It's a $315,000 mortgage and at 3.5% at 30 years fixed. I mean, come on, my mortgage payment's like $1,700 and some change all in. That's insurance, taxes, the whole 9 yards. So you can't argue with this.
No, that's a great deal. Who found it? Was it you or your wife?
It was literally, we drove by it we were looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house down the street that we were just going to buy and live in it for a year and then turn it into a rental, which looking back would have been stupid. But we drove by it and we stopped because there was a for rent sign out front. They had a unit that was available and we needed a place to park ourselves until we could get refocused because we suddenly had to move. We had 90 days to move and we were 60 days into that 90 days. So we needed to move Ricky Tick. That's what found it, is the for rent sign.
Yeah. That's an awesome deal. And that just proves that cash flow is so powerful when it's tied to real estate, because not only did you get the paycheck every month, but you were able to pull that money out at a later date and still you were still able to handle that debt service. That's awesome. You just need another 50 of those deals and then you'd be all set. So how has real estate changed your life getting into it? From when you got into it to now?
Well, I can tell you, for me, the huge benefit is, I can earn as much money as I can earn. If somebody earns $100,000 a year, let's say, and I earn $100,000 a year in real estate. The difference is I get to keep about 98,000 of that 100,000 versus the poor guy that has to punch a clock. They get to keep maybe, I don't know, 70,000 on a good day if they've got a decent CPA. Otherwise, it's closer to 60,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a game changer for me because I get to keep more. The broker I work for, he says this, it doesn't matter how many houses you sell if you're a realtor or apartment buildings or whatever, but it's how much you keep. And there's brokers out there that'll take 50% of the agent's pay. And my broker gives you all of it, but $250. So it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep, right? And the same applies here in what we do as real estate investors is I get to keep most of mine. I don't mind paying some. I mean, I want to pay my fair share like anybody else. Not that I'm volunteering to pay extra, but I like to keep as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. And, after your cross-country tour, buying markets and buying properties in different markets, where do you see your business going in the next 5-10 years?
Well, the next 5-10 years, we're going to do the RV thing. I can't talk for about 2 years. After that, we're going to transition to a boat. The more we get into this, the more we want to streamline and systematize everything, so that we can remove ourselves from the equation. Frankly, if I could just do my podcast every day, I'd be a happy camper. I just like podcasting and YouTube. So that's where we're at in the next couple of years. It's going to be more hands-off. My primary focus will be raising capital, adding additional people to the team. The more hands-off I can be, probably the better, right? I know the team would probably be happy about that, but that's our strategy. A lot of Americans wait till they're 65 or older to retire and have a good time and whatnot. And I've seen people that are 65 or 70, and I don't think I would be able to have a good time when I'm already falling apart now. I'm 48. So, I can imagine what it would be like.
Yeah. And, before we go, do you want to just give some tips to somebody out there? You mentioned you're going to focus on raising capital. What are some best practices that you can give somebody to get started in that capital raising process?
Don't believe fake it till you make it. Okay. Number one, don't fake it till you make it. If the best way to raise capital is to teach somebody something else, the reality of it is you probably know something, whether or not, you got to you may not believe that, but you do know something. Teach that to people. Don't fake it till you make it. Teach people what you know. Share with the world. The reality of it is most people are not willing to do the work that you're going to do. So go ahead and give them all the secrets that you've learned. They're not going to do it anyway. And that will automatically attract capital.
Yeah. No, those are some good tips. So Tyler, if somebody's looking to get in touch or join you on your cross-country tour in one of the cities you'll be visiting, where can they find you?
Well, cashflowguys.com is always the primary way to find us. We're going to be launching a new podcast actually called Cashflow Roadshow. It's not out yet. We own the domain name and we've got the iTunes thing set up, but we haven't any episodes in it yet. So that'll be coming soon. We'll be putting that out to our list. So go to cashflowguys.com and register on our website. We'll send that on email when the content's ready and you can see me try to back that big monstrosity up and not knock over trees and stuff, right?
That'll be great. So Tyler, just want to say thanks so much for taking the time today to share your success with us.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.